I'd like to introduce you to .helper, a small bash script that helps you deal with your everyday tasks and makes it simpler. Here's the repository where you can find it. Please make a note of it. If you want to play with it, I would recommend forking it, and you will see later why that makes sense. The very base of it is basically just one file, the .helper script. Let's get the URL to its raw version, and let's cut it, get it into our buffer. So let's switch over to the server, and let's download it here. And then we activate it by using source.helper. This is it. The .helper is activated now. So it recommends running the .h first. This shows you a short list of commands. We will go through them one by one, but in general, the very first command after .h is .m. All the commands, as you can notice, start with .. This is for the manual, which is basically pulls in the README file from the repository and displays it to you here on your screen, so you don't have to go back to repo. Hit enter to scroll down, or quit Q to quit it ahead of time. Let's take a look at the .h again for our help. And the first on the list is directory. The directory command is .d. If you follow it by just like you would normally if you were switching, it's kind of like equivalent to cd. So instead of cd, do .d, and you will switch to that directory. Switch to another directory again, you will do etc. For example, I'm on my web server, so let's get into some of the Apache configs here. It's listed here. Here's our Apache config. These are .d. Let's go into VPC Apache. Let's look at sites available. And maybe now for a good measure, let's take a look at more logs for Apache. Here they are. So nothing seems to be all exciting, but here's the exciting part. If you use the .d command now without any attributes, it will open a menu of the commands that you have saved using the .d command. So now to go back to the .ww directory, all you do is hit 1, enter, and you're here. You take a look around. .d, back to conf directory, and here you are. I guess you're getting the picture. If you got something in your list that you're not interested in and you would like to delete it, let's look at the help file. This is the next item on the list, .dr. R basically stands for remove, directory remove. So you would go .dr. Let's say you weren't that interested in the www directory. You choose 1, enter. It says it removed it. You can verify by going .d. Yes, it's gone. And by the way, if you want to exit the list without doing anything, simply hit Control-C and you're out of the list. And this is basically for directories. It makes it easy and helpful to get around. Second thing that we do a lot on the servers is we edit files. If we look at our help file again, well, I kind of jumped out of order, so let's do the file first. So .f is the file edit mode. So if I wanted to edit, for example, let's say etc Apache 2 Apache config. Simply opens the file. You can either read through it or you can edit it, up to you, and you can exit it or save it when you're done. Oh, there's a missing one. I have to fix that one. There's a small error showed up. That should not be there. But anyway, let's try another file. Let's try, we go for something like we edit file etc php, our version is 7, Apache 2, PHP-NI. You go to the file, you deal with the file, you exit file, But now to get back, just like with directories, you can go back and you have them under .f without any attributes, and you have it as a list. So you can jump back to editing one file, or you can go to .f again and edit another file. Usually the list isn't too big, but you know, it's easy to switch around. Now another thing that we do a lot is we run commands, and if we go back to the help file again, although here in the second list, because list is more alphabetical, the command for commands is .c. So if you were to go to .c without attributes, it would show you the list. Currently there's none because we haven't created any, so let's create a command. Now, because some of the commands have special characters, although not completely necessary, but it's not a bad idea to always wrap a command in double quotes. So if I wanted, for example, to cat etc php 7.4 Apache 2 conf directory, and I would wrap it all into the quotes. Here we are. We just basically, all of the files that existed in that directory, we just wrote them out at once. If we go back to the command now, without using any attributes, you will see that this command has been saved, and we can choose it again and run it again. So let's try another command. Let's say something like command system ctl status Apache 2. We run the status command. If we go back to the command menu, now we have it as well. Control C because I don't want to do anything. Now let's do something also like with another trick that I do a lot, because I want to, like if I restart, Apache, I want to right away make sure that it runs. So let's save a command where we restarted, and oh, I fat fingered it. And this is actually great to have the menu later, so once I get it right the first time, then I can just choose it from the menu. So let's run our command. So we restarted, we checked it, it's been running for 10 milliseconds, which means, yep, that's the fresh status we're seeing. And if we go back to our commands menu again, now we have an extra command. Well, let's do maybe one more command. Let's get out of here and let's do something like .command cat var. By the way, if you want to continue autocomplete, the little trick here is if you put the quote, you will not do the autocomplete. But if you want to, for example, cat etc, or they say cat var log Apache, well, let's change. Let's say we want to cat error log. Add the quotes after, so when you finish doing it all, just run back, add the quote, run the command, and now you can see that this command has been added to our list of commands. Well, basically this is, oh, here's another really cool feature, and it's actually under help. Sometimes you run a command where you want to change something, like let's say we want to restart another service, but we don't want to retype the whole line. So if you look at the help, there's a command that's called .cl. It gives exactly the same list as the command history, but it does a different thing. Let's say we take the third command, which is the control restart and the whole thing, right? What it does, it loads it into history. So when you hit the up arrow, like you do to scroll history normally, it gives it to you. So this way you can edit it. For example, let's say you want a different service, right? So it's basically the way to reuse, like some of the commands might be using, you might want to target different systems and you don't want to retype the whole command. So this is equivalent of pulling up one of the commands and then just editing something in it. And now if you wanted it to turn into a different command, you would do .c and add brackets, and basically you could take it from there. Okay, so we're not gonna do this. So basically, that's the idea. At the base of it all, we're building a list of directories, files, and commands. If you ever want to see this list, and again, it's back in help, hit .lg. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong. This is list get command. We'll get back to it later. This is actually a good part of it. What you want to do is hit .lp, list print. So right now, this is the list that all our actions have generated, directories and so on. And you would think, well, what if I go to another machine and I typed all these commands here and I don't want to be retyping them there? Okay, this is what you do. You copy, oops, include the directory. So basically, copy this text. I believe this copies it automatically. I don't have to do anything. And let's go back to our repository, go under lists. Let's add a file. Let's call it Apache PHP list. Paste our selection in, commit it. One other thing we have to do, because I cannot traverse the directories, we have to add it to the menu with exactly the same name, Apache-PHP, and save it. So when you get back to your server, you can use the lg command to retrieve the list that you just created. And you will notice that all of the entries were skipped because we already have all of the same entries. So to demonstrate it better, let's use the next command in list, which is list remove command, the .lr. You would need to say yes to verify it. And if we now print our list, you'll see that it's empty. If you try to use any of the .c or .d or .f commands, you see that all the lists are empty. So basically, it's clean as if we started again on a new server. So now we can go back to lg command and pull in the Apache. And this time you can see that all of them get added to the list. And if we do LP for the list, you see them added. Another good feature is that if we import another list, like the common one, that list will be added without overriding the existing one. So if we try listing the current list now with the LP command, you will see that the two lists got combined. So this is quite powerful because you can have a common list and a list for troubleshooting certain servers, and you can pull first one, then pull the second one, and combine all of the entries together and then start your work. There's still just a couple more entries left in our list. We'll skip the remove for now, we'll do that last. So the .u basically pretty much quietly updates your .helper from the Git repository, or whichever repository you use, and it sources it right away. And another command is .v, which is really simple, it just shows you the version in a nice splash screen. And finally, when you finished working, if you're not on your server and you would like to leave and not leave anything behind, you can use a .r command, which will ask you to verify the full word yes. And that will entirely remove anything associated with the .helper. So if we were to list our home directory now, there would be no helper files left behind, so everything is gone. And this is it.